Good evening. This meeting of the Kern County Planning Commission is called to order. There's copies of tonight's agenda that we'll be referring to on the back table. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Ashley. Commissioner Brooks.
Here.
Commissioner Dunbar.
Here.
Commissioner Oliver.
Here.
Commissioner Skidmore. Here. Mr. Van Wyk.
Here.
Mr. Murphy.
Here.
Mr. Johnson.
Here.
Ms. Simon. Here.
Commissioner and member announcements or reports. Would any commissioner or staff like to make an announcement or report? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Approval of the minutes. You received a copy of the minutes for the October 9th meeting. If there's no corrections, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Items withdrawn or request continuance. Mr. Murphy, are there any items?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We do not have any items that are being recommended for continuance or withdrawn tonight.
Thank you. And we'll move on to the consent items. Mr. Murphy, will you review the consent agenda?
I will. Thank you again, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. So these are items scheduled before your commission which are being recommended for approval by staff. The applicant has been informed of any special conditions and has no objection. The hearing on these items may be expedited if no member of the commission or audience wishes to comment or ask any questions on the cases. This evening we have 4 cases on consent. The first is case number 1, SPA 15, map 10126, zone change number 23, map 10126. Our applicant is Muiji LLC by KSI Engineering. This project is located on the southeast corner of Renfro Road and Palm Avenue in the unincorporated Western Rosedale area. The 2 actions before you this evening are an amendment to the land use element of the Western Rosedale specific plan from map code RR to map code UER, and then a change in zone classification from A1 to E1/2 or a more restricted district on approximately 2.5 acre parcel. The staff recommendation is to advise your commission to recommend the Board of Supervisors to adopt the resolution and recommended findings approving the amendment to the land use element of the Western Rosedale specific plan as requested, adopt resolution and recommended findings and enact ordinance approving the zone change as requested as set forth in the attached draft resolution. The next item on consent this evening is case number 3, GPA number 2, map 12519, zone change 8, map 12519, and PD plan 1, map 12519. Our applicant is Augustine Gayton. This project is located approximately 900 feet west of Weed Patch Highway on the north side of Farmers Lane in the Bakersfield area. The actions before you this evening are a general plan amendment from map code LMR to map code LI, a change in zone classification from A1MH to M1PD or a more restrictive district, and then a precise development plan requesting a private contractor storage yard for personal storage with a mobile home as a caretaker corridor, all on approximately 2.5 acre parcel. The staff recommendation is to advise your commission to recommend the Board of Supervisors to adopt the resolution and recommended findings and approve the general plan amendment as requested, adopt resolution and recommended findings and enact ordinance approving the zone change as requested, and then approve the precise development plan as requested in accordance with the recommended conditions and adopt the suggested findings as set forth in the draft resolution. Case number 4 this evening is GPA number 4, map 160. Our applicant is the FS Jasmine LLC. This project is generally near the intersection of Old River Road and Copus Road in unincorporated Mettler area. The item before you is an amendment to the circulation element of the Kern County General Plan to eliminate future road reservations along section and midsection lines within the boundaries of the approved Jasmine Solar Project. The staff recommendation is to advise the Planning Commission to recommend the Board of Supervisors to adopt Section 15091 Findings of Fact and Section 15093 Statement of Overriding Considerations, adopt the Mitigation Monitoring and Reporting Plan, and approve the amendment to the circulation element of the Kern County General Plan as requested, and adopt the suggested findings as set forth in the attached draft resolution. And then the final case this evening on consent is case number 5, CUP number 79, map 142. Our applicant is Mark Luttrell by Keith Luttrell. This project is located at 12856 Old River Road in the Bakersfield area. The request is a conditional use permit to allow the addition of a small volume transfer station to a legal non-conforming ag trucking operation in an A district on approximately 7.02 acre parcel. The recommendation is to approve the conditional use permit in accordance with the recommended conditions and adopt the suggested findings as set forth in the attached draft resolution. That completes the reading of the consent calendar.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Is there any member of the audience that would like to speak on any of these items? If you do, they will be removed from the consent agenda and heard in regular order. Is there any member of the commission who wishes to remove any of these items from the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion on these items. Items 1, 3, 4, and 5.
I'll motion to approve the consent agenda as read into the record.
I will second that.
Okay, please vote on the screen.
Four ayes, one absent. Motion carries.
Thank you. Mr. Murphy, can you please go over the right to appeal?
I will. For projects where the Planning Commission action is final, those actions are subject to an appeal to the Board of Supervisors by any interested person, and no development proposed by any application may be authorized until a final date of appeal. That is the case for case number 5 this evening. An appeal may be filed with the Kern County Planning and Natural Resources Department located at 2700 M Street, Suite 100 in Bakersfield, with a filing fee of $562 on forms available at the department and on our website. The filing must be made within 14 days of and including the date of this hearing. If no appeal is received, the action of the commission is final.
Thank you. Public presentations. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons desiring to address the commission on any matter not on tonight's agenda and whichever the commission has jurisdiction. Speakers are limited to 2 minutes. If you'd like to speak, please state your name for the record before making your presentation. All right, seeing none, we'll move on to public hearing. First and only item we'll be hearing tonight is item number 2 on the regular agenda. Is the applicant or representative here? Yes. Okay. Is there anyone in the audience other than the applicant who wishes to speak either for or against this? Okay. Staff, can I please have you give the report presentation for this application?
Good evening, Chair Dunbar and Commissioners. This proposal is a request for a conditional use permit to allow an agricultural trucking facility on a 2.01 acre parcel that has a map code designation of LMR, low medium density residential, and a zone classification of A, exclusive agriculture with R1 low density residential in suspense. The applicant is Parmajit Kaur Bangu by Revpreet Bangu. The project site is located on the east side of South Union Avenue, south of East Hoskings Avenue in the Bakersfield area. The parcel is currently vacant, but has operated as an ag trucking facility in the past. The surrounding area is comprised of residentially zoned parcels to the north and east within the city limits of Bakersfield. Exclusive agriculture with R1 in suspense is to the south, and a mix of City of Bakersfield M1 light manufacturing and county-zoned estate parcels are to the west. The proposed project is for an agricultural facility to be used for a short-term parking for ag trucks and trailers traveling from Central California to the Midwest hauling produce. The site will include an inspection area and a storage building for parts such as straps, loading locks, etc. The business office operations will include dispatching, accounting, document filing, and load management. The parking area will be fenced and secured with employees and drivers having 24-hour access. In addition to the security guard, there will be 6 employees on site. The applicant is proposing a maximum of 22 semi-trucks with trailers on site. Staff has recommended a maximum of 20 trucks be allowed on site at any one time, as only 20 parking spaces have been provided in the site plan. Additionally, the applicant has proposed that refrigerated trailers will have a designated parking spot on the northwest corner of the property, as the refrigeration units will run while parked. A noise study was provided during the preliminary review and found the proposed project operations are not expected to exceed ambient noise levels at sensitive receptor sites, with the retention of the 7.5-foot high masonry wall along the eastern property line. Without the masonry wall to attenuate the sound, the project would not comply with applicable noise standards. A condition being recommended by staff is to exclude refrigerated trailers from running overnight while parked on site, as the increased noise at night from these trailers is a common concern staff receive from neighbors for these types of operations. The applicant provided an updated noise study subsequent to the preparation of the staff report that provides additional information on the impact of the refrigerated trailers on the surrounding area. It's in page 11 and 12 of the study provided to you. However, with the proximity of single-family dwellings east of the project site and the single-family dwelling directly across Union Avenue from the designated parking areas for these trailers, and the noise levels on site already reaching maximum allowable levels per the noise study provided, staff maintains the recommendation not to permit refrigerated trailers or trucks to run overnight on the property. Comments received during the notification period include standard comments from county agencies and a comment in opposition from a neighboring property owner. The concerns raised include soil contamination, air, water, and noise pollution, and impacts on increased traffic. Staff is confident with the recommended conditions of approval, including those to limit overnight noise, implement and maintain county development standards, and the trip generation analysis provided by the applicant having been reviewed and approved by Kern County Public Works, that concerns raised by the neighboring property owner have been adequately evaluated and addressed. In summary, staff believes the proposed project is consistent with map code designation and zone classification for the parcel. The project site's access to South Union Avenue is suitable for agricultural trucking operation with the recommended conditions to reduce impacts to the neighboring residential properties. Staff is recommending your commission approve the conditional use permit for a 5-year period of time to expire on November 6, 2030, in accordance with the recommended conditions and adopt the suggested findings as set forth in the draft resolution. This concludes staff's presentation, but I believe Mr. Murphy has some clarifications he would like to make.
Thank you, Ms. Barker. Members of the commission, there's just one clarification I would like to make based on language I see in our staff report. On page 11, when we talk about this potential project's impact on fair housing, staff discusses the proximity of this site next to additional residential dwellings, and then staff discusses the South Union Road. And one of the conclusions on that paragraph says, based on the commercial and light industrial uses in the area and that roadway, that this site would not support an acceptable standard of livability if it were developed as residential. I believe that was a typo. Staff does not believe that this particular site would not meet that standard. It's clearly designated residential. It has in suspense residential suspense. The property is still zoned A. But I think what staff was trying to say is, given the use of South Union Road as a major transportation corridor, given the fact that this site had previously been used for ag trucking in the past, and given the proposed recommended development standards and conditions, staff does believe that this project would not be a detriment to any further in fair housing. But again, just to clarify the record, based on the exact language in the staff report, if it was your commission's decision to deny this project, this site would be suitable for residential development in the future. I'd just like to clarify that language that was inadvertently included in our staff report.
Thank you. Thank you. Does the applicant have an opening statement or comments? Please state your name.
My name is Ravpreet Bangu. First, I wanted to thank the Planning Commission for their time and consideration and the Planning Department for their underlying work and recommendations. I think that the recommendations were very reasonable and we agree with most of the limitations, but there are some limitations that have been placed that we think are going to affect operations, and then we found that they were problematic. One of them has to do with the refrigerated trailers. There was a limitation as to removing the designated 2 parking spots on the northwest side of the property. One of the reasons we had worked with our architect to designate that spot was because we wanted to ensure that it was furthest away from the residential neighbors. We did that by placing them closest to South Union Avenue. There are 2 parking spots, and we made sure that all of our studies, the air quality study, the the noise study, the traffic impact analysis, all of those vendors or those companies understood that this was, the reason we're having these refrigerated trailers, where they're going to be placed on the property. And with the noise studies, and especially the revised report, I'm not sure if the commission has had a chance to review it, but it includes a detailed analysis that explains that the 2 designated parking spots for these refrigerated trailers would not exceed existing ambient noise levels for the city of Bakersfield or the county of Kern. We have to understand that these spots are, again, right next to Union Avenue. Union Avenue, we all know, is a heavily traveled road. There's a lot of trucking activity in that area already, and lots of industrial kind of uses in that area. These spots are over 250 feet away from any residential home. And I went back and touched base with our noise, our acoustics company as well yesterday and today. And again, they're willing to, answer any questions or get back to us with any concerns that we have. But based on my discussion with him, there was no difference in the conclusion of these 2 reefer trailers, even if they were running, would not affect the standards, and they would still be able to conclude that they would not affect the residential neighbors. I also want to emphasize that the parking of a refrigerated trailer on this site is going to be rare. When we were going out to all of these studies, we were telling them kind of the maximum, worst case scenarios, because I didn't want to go in and ever say, we need, this kind of use now. And so again, right now we have 11 trucks. We're asking for parking for the next 10 years when we eventually get to 20 trucks. The refrigerated trailers. We haul produce from Bakersfield to the Midwest. If we're going to pick up a load, we are going to go to wherever we're, picking up the load, and there's a time clock from that point, to get to the Midwest. It's going to be very rare for a driver to leave the yard, go to pick up a load, and then come back to the yard with a loaded trailer, unless there's like a mechanical failure that they didn't realize occurred during the pre-trip inspection, during the time that they were going to the wherever they're going to pick up this load. It's very unlikely that they're going to have to come back and park a reefer trailer on the site. But it could happen. I mean, sometimes it happens. The last time it happened, I was just talking to everybody to figure out kind of the last time it happened in the recent future, the recent time was August 22nd. And there was a time where we had to have it on for 4 hours in the yard that we're currently parking at. So it doesn't happen very often, but we want to be able to plan for something like that. So that was one of the things that we wanted to modify, was if it's possible to have permission to be able to, in the case of an emergency, to park a refrigerated trailer at the northwest corner of the property in case we need that. Again, closest to South Union Road. The second thing that I wanted to address was the limiting hours from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week is what the recommendations are. One of the reasons we didn't use this trucking yard 10 years ago was because we were having trouble with theft in the area. So theft of trucks, theft of trailers, fuel, tires, things, it's not, that area of town has this problem. And so one of the things we want to make sure we do, and we intend to do, is have a security guard on site 24 hours a day. If we're limiting access and not allowing that security guard to be there, it's kind of, that wouldn't make sense. So we would like to be able to request 24-hour access so that the security guard can stay on site for 24 hours a day. The second thing is, for the operational hours, they're not a problem 95% of the time, but there are going to be, an occasion, if there's an emergency that happens where, a truck's broke down in Arizona, and we go and repower it, then another truck goes off and takes this load, that truck needs to come back somewhere, and it's 11 p.m. at night, they need to be able to go into the yard and park it. That doesn't mean we're operating at that time. That doesn't mean we have business operations going on, anything like that. It's more of the door has to be able, the gate has to be able to open, the truck has to go inside, park 5-10 minutes and get out. The driver needs to be able to go home. So if we're limiting it and saying, nobody can go in there from 10 PM at night to 5 in the morning, that's a restriction that would be difficult for us. So that's the second thing. And then the last two things are just two clarifications that we wanted to know, but I don't know if I should continue with those two clarifications. Yes, go ahead. Okay, so the one thing we wanted to clarify was item 6A, 1 and 2. We wanted to make sure that the recommendations are not to improve the east half of Union Avenue for the frontage of the property. So I wanted to make sure that that wasn't a part of it. My understanding is that it's just the curb, gutter, sidewalks, approach, those kinds of improvements. I wanted to make sure though that we weren't required to, do the 290 feet of the east half of Union. That's number one. And number two was item 4E. I wanted some clarification on the tree requirement in and around the truck parking spaces. We do have landscaping, and the trees are proposed to be on the border of the property, so all the way along the east, north, and the south, and then in the front of the property. We just wanted to make sure that there was no landscaping requirements within the property, like where it's, in between the truck parking spaces. And that was it.
Can you repeat the prior one you were looking at?
Sure, so the first clarification was item 6, 1A and 2. Sorry, A, 1 and 2.
Okay, thank you.
And then the second one was item 4E. Clarification on that. That's it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I invite those who are opposed to this request to come forward, be heard. Please state your name and you'll have 2 minutes.
My name is Aman Sahami.
Can you spell that?
Sahami.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm here for southwest corner of Huskin and South Union Avenue, which backs up to Golden Valley High School. Our concern about the project here is the repairing the truck, dispatching the truck, parking the truck, and also when I was reading the draft today, which I got it today, as mentioned on item C, page 4, oil change, contamination. That's our concern about having a parking truck on the East Hoskin Union. That's our concern, is about contamination mainly.
Okay.
Also, the property we own at southwest corner of Hoskin and Union, we are talking with a couple national franchise at this time that might have an impact on our contract with them. If the trucking company is going to be there, that definitely is going to have an impact on our negotiation with the 2 national franchise company at this time we are in negotiation with.
Okay. Anything else?
We would like to, if possible, to stop that because obviously the main thing is the contamination because they are about 800, 900 square feet from us. And the other concern is there's a high school there. It's the Golden Valley High School, one of the largest high schools in Kern County. That's other high school. They need to be concerned about that. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Is there anyone else like to speak in opposition? Is there anybody that would like to speak in support? Does the applicant have any closing statement or comments? Okay. Would staff like to make any additional comments on this item?
Chairman Dunbar, sure, I can just provide some clarification, and then if I get anything incorrect, staff, please correct me. But in terms of answering some of the comments that were raised, specifically the first question that was brought up regarding the facility operating hours. So this is not applicable to security guard. So when we have those hours from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m., if the applicant chose to have a security guard on site, that is completely fine. These conditions do not mean that a security guard could not be on site from the hours of 10 p.m. until 5 a.m. the next morning. What these are typically trying to do is limit the amount of times truckers use that facility so as not to disturb residents adjacent to the project. You know, if they're coming in at 2 a.m. consistently, you know, that potentially could be a concern. And so, again, but just to clarify for your overall discussion, that measure does not have anything to do with security. Regardless of what the language says, the security guard would be allowed to be there 24 hours a day. This is specifically related to whether or not your commission wants to have operational hours when it is custom for drivers to come and utilize the site, bring in their trucks, things along those lines. Regarding the clarifications to condition 4E, this has to do with the 5% of total area devoted to parking for trees and landscaping. We do not, this condition is not meant to require any trees to be located within the parking spaces of where trucks park. You know, our development standards, we have requirements that you have to put a tree every 6 spaces or so where you have public parking and things along those lines. So that condition specifically would only relate to the portions of the site that are designated for vehicles. This is where a normal car would go, things along those lines. There is no requirement that we are proposing in terms of trees to be incorporated in between spaces where the truck themselves or their trailers would park. This was only limited to the vehicles. Regarding the comment on 6A2, and this has to do under the encroachment permit, improving the project frontage to type A subdivision standards. That is curb gutter sidewalk. That may include some of the roadway. I don't know exactly how much of the roadway has already been built. You know, let's say that this was a brand new project and there wasn't a road at all, then clearly when we say type A, that's construction of the half the road plus curb gutter sidewalk. South Union Road may already be built all the way. Maybe there's only a small portion that has to be continued to be developed and then the curb gutter sidewalk. So that actually is a better conversation that Public Works would help provide exactly how much of that paving would need to be. But technically, type A is the half width plus curb gutter sidewalk, but clearly if it's already built, then they may not be required to build that whole half width and maybe just a little portion in between the curb gutter and sidewalk that gets installed. And then I believe the last clarification comment, I believe there was one more clarification comment. Well, maybe there wasn't a clarification comment. Just to bring context to the applicant's proposed location for the refrigerator trucks are in the northwest corner of the project site. So that is the spot when she had talked about it, where their site plan includes that. Regarding comments from Mr. Shamai, I apologize if I said that incorrectly. This project is only going to generate, it is a total of 20 trucks is what this facility would be authorized. When they looked at the overall traffic, 20 trucks are not generating a whole lot of peak hour trips that the Public Works Department believed are going to greatly impact or have significant impact on the roadway, use of the roadway, anything along those lines. You know, 20 trips throughout a day is a pretty light number of trips. So, you know, I clearly can't say what the proposed development may be to the northwest, but South Union Road in and of itself is a heavily traveled truck road route, and this particular project, again, is only proposing 20 trucks that would be allowed to stay overnight and utilize the facility. Regarding concerns as to contamination, the project applicant will have the appropriate paving and surfacing on the project site where the maneuvering areas are for the vehicles and the trucks. And then if they have any type of vehicle oil or anything along those lines, which I don't doubt they would other than just normal vehicle uses, they would have to get any of the appropriate permits from environmental health as to how those are stored, things along those lines. But given the paving requirements and the servicing requirements, I don't believe that there is an overarching concern as to groundwater associated with just trucks parking directly onto the project site. I believe I've answered all of the questions. Clearly, staff is available to answer any more, but I was just trying to put everything into context for consideration by your commission. Thank you.
Thank you. This hearing is now closed to public testimony and open to the commission for questions and comments. guys have any questions or comments? Okay. So I'll entertain a motion for item number 2.
I know that area pretty well. I've sold a number of homes to the east of there as a real estate broker. I know that highway extremely well. There's a number of tire shops, there's construction, there's truck areas all throughout there. And I don't think it is probably appropriate for, a trucking company. I think as reading through here, I didn't see anything major that I would not agree with. And I make a motion, Chair, to approve as written unless one of the other commissioners want to add anything.
Can I get a second?
I will second that.
Okay, please vote on screen.
Three ayes, 1 no, 1 absent. Motion carries.
Okay, Mr. Mercy, can you review the appeals process?
I will. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, just for clarity, we have a commissioner missing, so just for everyone's purpose, it takes 3 affirmative votes to make any decision. So that was established here. We had 3 votes for yes, so this project was approved. This action is final by the commission unless appealed. So for projects where the Planning Commission action is final, those actions are subject to an appeal to the Board of Supervisors by any interested person, and no development proposed by any application may be authorized until after the final date of appeal. That appeal may be filed with the Kern County Planning and Natural Resources Department located at 2700 M Street, Suite 100 in Bakersfield, with a filing of $562 on forms available at the department and on our website. The filing must be made within 14 days of and including the date of this hearing. If no appeal is received, the action of your commission is final.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. If there's no further business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We stand adjourned.